Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on reaching your IBM Enterprise Modernization Goals. My name is Amanda Blackburn, and I'm with Profound Logic Software. And we're excited today to partner with Arcad Software on today's webinar and discuss how our partnership brings you a complete end-to-end modernization solution for your business. Before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know that today's webinar is being recorded and that you'll receive a follow-up email with that recording after the presentation. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end of this webinar as time allows. You can use the questions feature in GoToWebinar as shown here to ask questions throughout the webinar, and our team will answer as many as we can in our time today. I will also include a transcript of the Q&A in my emails once we're at the end of our webinar. And we will have a post-webinar survey, which you'll be prompted to complete at the end of the webinar. So please take a moment to complete that for us, as it helps us prepare for future webinars. We have a great group of speakers for today's event. We're excited to have with us Charles Guarino. Charles, as many of you know, is an IBM evangelist and educator who has presented at user groups and conferences around the world. Ray Bernardi joins us from Arcad Software, and Jordan Antonoff is with us from Profound Logic Software. Both Ray and Jordan have many years of experience working hands-on with IBM customers and helping them achieve their modernization goals, and we're excited to have them with us today as well. As you can see here, we have quite a bit of content to cover today. First, Charles will explain the steps involved when working to reach your modernization goals. And then Ray will cover how Profound Logic and Arcad have partnered to help you down that path with solutions that truly help you modernize your IBM at every level. Finally, Jordan will have a discussion with a real customer who uses both Arcad and Profound Logic solutions, Don Johnson from Kinko Group. And he will explain how those solutions have helped his company achieve IBM modernization success. And so with that, I am going to hand it off to Charles.
Thank you very much. My name is Charles Guarino, and thank you for joining us here today on this webcast on modernization. I'd like to also thank Profound Logic and Arcad Software for the invitation to speak with you today. So I have some questions for you, and they go like this. How many of these different things can you say are true in your company? Let's say your business is beginning to suffer because projects are taking longer than ever to complete. Web interfaces are all around, yet they're not part of what your users are seeing today in their own applications. They're still being relegated to single-event, text-based green screens. The installed base code is still preventing you to deliver necessary changes to your enterprise, which are very important to keeping it competitive and relevant. And who can blame the users for thinking that you had to have old applications? And your job is you just keep defending your system because you and I both know it's the most reliable hardware and operating system in the industry. So do any of these questions ring true to you? If so, you really need to start a journey with me. And like most journeys, there are lots of questions. And when you have a lot of questions, it's very possible to spend a lot of time analyzing and perhaps even overanalyzing, and nothing will ever get done. Think about this. When should I start? How do I start? Where do I start? So let's kick off this journey together, and we'll go over some of the key facets of it. After my discussion, do stay tuned for Ray and Jordan, who are going to be showing you very specific tools that will greatly assist in getting you on track to your own journey. The answer to most of these questions is to modernize. But that term alone is such a broad and abstract term. What does that actually mean? Modernize what? Well, you might be saying, we already have a very large IT budget. What could possibly be the issues? Well, one issue is that IT itself can be the obstacle to growth. Another issue could be that it takes way too long to implement new features and functions because of too much legacy code. Another issue is that users are being hindered by the front-end interfaces. What's the solution here? The solution then is to make better use of technology and repurposing what you already have, improving upon it, keeping it current using best practices. I really believe that IT has an obligation to support and further each company's mission and to keep the company competitive and relevant. Businesses today expect more and more out of their technology just to remain viable and competitive. And when changes are required, the infrastructure needs to be completely pliable and scalable to implement these changes quickly and efficiently. Long gone are the days when customers of them waiting and businesses waiting with realistic deadlines. They want everything now. So the idea here is to not to only extend the life of your applications, but again, to have them flexible enough to withstand the high demands that businesses require, the changes that are definitely going to ensue. Here's the problem, though. As fast as you can possibly implement these changes, you will always find it difficult to keep up with the ever-rising, ever faster growing expectation of delivery from your customer base and your user base. Reason is, users are much more tech savvy today than they've ever been. So it's only when your code base and your database are structured properly that you will even begin to have a fighting chance to meet these expectations. Once again, you have made significant investments in your IT infrastructure. In most shops today, the real investment and where the real money is not in the hardware, but in the software that runs on it. This is the investment that needs to be protected the most. This is where your competitive edge resides. Think of all that business logic that's been developed over the years into your programs. Also consider there's a lot of obsolete code that resides in these programs. When you have poorly written, unstructured, and unmodularized code, each modification, or I should say each subsequent modification, becomes more expensive than it should be because the developers need to code around lengthy routines that don't have to be so complex. And that in turn translates to more expensive debugging. And that translates into lengthier testing cycles. And even more time, effort, and money for the next cycle of enhancements. So now that we know what the reasons are for modernization, the larger question still remains. Where do I start my journey? At what point is this journey complete? It's complete when you say it's complete. When all the issues that we discussed are resolved, that's when you can say, my journey is now complete. However, when you're working in a dynamic environment, there's a good chance you'll never be done. But even in these cases, a more modern infrastructure will allow you to keep delivering new requirements very efficiently. So let's go down this list one by one and discuss some of the benefits of each of them. The first one is starting with the new developer tooling. If there was ever a product that was way past its expiration date, in my opinion, it's SEU. In my personal experience, using RDI has increased my productivity many, many times over. This is because everything is at my fingertips, just a mouse click away. You do not have to keep switching from screen to screen, typing in green screen commands and losing your place. Any new development dollars at IBM are being put into new rational tooling, not in SEU. The second thing is the updated code base. RPG was already a great language for doing business development. Now that IBM has gone through great lengths in improving the syntax, the look and the feel, it's even better now. The style is more consistent with other languages. And the free form allows more developers into the developer community. But it doesn't even stop there. Moving towards a true ILE will provide you with the environment you need to be ready in today's requirements and future ones as well. Also, ILE is not restrictive to just an application running in a browser. Think about this. Modularization will let you extend your current applications into other areas, such as mobile and web services. A graphical front end, I've said this before, I'll say it over and over again. Users are very, very tech savvy today. They have very high expectations of what their applications should be doing. When they're using a browser, they can take advantage of so many other features simultaneously, such as web services, mouse clicks, things like that, calendaring, drop-downs, etc. Think about any modern application you're using today. I will bet a lot of money that it's browser-based for sure. Next item is a flexible SQL database. When you're running a flexible SQL and DDL database, these things are now the de facto languages of modern tooling and modern databases. It's so much a standard, it's just like having electricity in our homes. As you create new tables into your database today, there is absolutely no question that you should be using DDL. Over time, you'll also want to convert your current tables, and there is the tooling to do that for you. You want to do that to have a consistent database in the end. The same way IBM is putting new dollars into rational tooling and development tooling, there's also new dollars going into the SQL database, not DDS. This has been an IBM stated strategic direction for quite some time already. And the last thing is increased IT agility. You know, the culmination of all these items will definitely result in increased agility, which translates to your ability to rolling out new features quickly and more reliably. And that is absolutely one way to make sure your applications have staying power. So by now, you can see that by extending the life of your current applications, by keeping them relevant to the enterprise's ever-changing needs, you are preserving your total investment in your IT infrastructure. I've seen this time and time again. Bringing in a new system is always a risky endeavor. I've seen it myself time and time again. Not to mention, you have lost time with data conversions, training, and testing. So the question is, when do I start? You start now. That's when you start. And there's an old saying that I like to use, how do you eat an elephant? Well, the answer, as we all know, is one bite at a time. Start small. There's the very important concept of continuous improvement. By delivering new features and functions on a continuous, small basis, you are definitely flattening out the cost of IT ownership. The reason for this is because it allows you to change course if necessary or improve on the processes you just delivered instead of waiting until a large-scale rollout occurs. In addition, continuous improvement surely greatly reduces the risk of modernization. So start your journey today. Identify which tasks need to get done. Choose good modernization partners like Profound Logic and Arcad software. They have the know-how and experience on these types of modernization products. I have seen their products and I know they work. And here's the final thought I want to leave you with today. Your journey to modernization may be long, but I can tell you that all along the way, you will be realizing significant ROI. Thank you very much for your time today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Charles. Now I'm going to hand things over to Ray Bernardi, and he's going to take us through the next portion of our webinar. Take it away.
Okay, thank you very much, Amanda. Look, before we start, what we're going to do here is we're going to put a poll out to you guys. We want to ask you a couple of questions. So, Amanda, if you could go ahead and push that poll out, we'd like to see that. And when that pops up, go ahead and answer the question. Just give us an idea of why you're here today. It's going to take about 30 seconds. Go ahead, there's the poll, so you can see the quick poll. So go ahead and give us a click there if you don't mind putting down your coffee and just taking a stroll over to the laptop for a second and give us an idea of why you're here today. While that's done, I'm Ray Bernardi. I'm from Arcad Software. I've been doing change management and application lifecycle management for over 20 years. I've been with Arcad now for over 8 years. And what I'm going to do today is take you on a little talk through what modernization is and how modernization works.
Looks like we still have a few votes coming in. Just a couple more seconds.
Okay.
Okay. And I will share our results.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. Modernizing application interfaces, the GUI end of it right there on the bottom. That's really interesting. And the next one is the DDS to DDL conversion, the RPG ILE to free format. We're going to hit all of these topics today. Very interesting. I think the webinar is going to be well targeted for everybody who's here today. We appreciate that. That gives us an idea of what's going on out there in the industry. So again, Ray Bernardi from Arcad. Let me get going here. What I'd like to do is, there we go. Let me back up one slide here. Hang on. All right, all set. So this is the modernization model that you see in the IBM Red Book. And basically what this is it's a modern iterative cycle. I mean, Charles talked about that. You can repeat things as many times as you need. And the idea here is that every little step that you take is going to bring you closer to your goal, a modernized application. After each iteration, you take a step back, you take a look at what's going on, reassess the situation, you see if you're still on track, and you can adjust where needed. What we're going to do is go through these phases. I'm going to talk about phase 1 and phase 2 very briefly, and we're going to spend our time in phase 3. That's where the poll indicates that all the time needs to be spent. So analyze. That's what phase 1 is really all about. You really can't modernize what you don't understand, and you really need tools to help you in this area. I mean, having a cross-reference tool is a good start, but you really should be going a lot further than that. Arcad Observer and other Arcad tools, we'll mention Observer today, can do that for you. Automating analysis and documentation, they're really kind of a must if you want to be agile. Now, what Observer does is it allows you to see cross-platform, cross-reference information. It can show you program calling chains, ILE encapsulation links. It can find embedded SQL statements, understand things like foreign key constraints, and a whole lot more. It can produce database diagrams, input-output diagrams, flow diagrams of your system. It can even create retro documentation of your information system. It's really a huge time saver, and it's designed to make analysis fast and accurate. So automating analysis is a must. You kind of need tools for analysis. Step 2, that's about version control, about getting some structure in place. I mean, you need to control development and testing, obviously. And again, automation is the key to becoming agile in these areas. The Arcad Pack for Rational has tools to structure and control all of your changes. It does things like ensure builds are done correctly and completely. It'll make testing a structural part of your change process. We can allow for sign-offs, validations. We can even deploy the artifacts that you've changed to their final destination. So what we're talking about here is a really modern tool set. And we all know that PDM, SCU, those have become static. Charles talked about that. Nothing's being updated there anymore. That's not where the money is. So we kind of need to modernize our tools, and we need to do it now. The move to Eclipse, RDI, and RTC, it's really on. And if you haven't started yet, you really need to get going. You're way behind. So move to Eclipse. Get RDI. Get RTC. Go GUI. PDM static. They're not changing it. You'll pick up on new things like visual editors, content assist, syntax checking, the debugger. Everything's better. There's new analysis tools there, and everything is so tightly integrated. Charles talked about that a little bit. RTC, mentioned that a couple of times. So just briefly, RTC is collaborative lifecycle management, and Arcad integrates tightly with RTC. RTC can be a single source repository, regardless of the type of source code that you're working on, native or open. It'll work with either. It can handle the most complex workflows, and it really supports agile development methodology well. Now, where Arcad comes into this picture is here, by adding our IBM I expertise into this process. Arcad interfaces tightly with the build process. If you make a change in RTC to a native component, Arcad makes sure that all the related components get considered, are compiled in the right order, are delivered to the stream, and so on. It does things like handle the data in your files for you automatically. Arcad allows you to deploy your changes that you've made. You can put those out to any number of other IBM I systems, other platform servers, and so on. Now, without Arcad, you'd be doing all of that manually. And again, to modernize and become agile, automation is really the key. You need automation. And testing here is the last area that I'm going to mention before we get further into today's topic. Automation and testing is really the only way to ensure that testing is going to get done. I mean, Arcad Verifier is the product I'm speaking about here. We can add this to your change process, and what it does is it creates a campaign of related scenarios. And a scenario is like a little test that's been recorded. And that campaign is based on the group of components that you just changed, and it does all that automatically. So what does that mean? Well, number one, it's not shelfware. It works. And it means if you make a change and you deliver it to QA, when you get there, all the related tests have already been run, and they're ready to view. So you can test more, and you can do it with less time. And again, that would make testing a structural part of your change process. So steps 1 and 2, we can do whole webinars on those. But step 3 is really what we're here to talk about today. And that's what the focus is going to be. And that's transforming your IBM I into a modern system, modern database, new code, new interfaces, and so on. So today what we're going to do is focus more on, modernizing legacy applications and the ways to do it. If you look on the left, you're kind of looking at the old model that's going on. You're seeing different silos of development, 5250 screens, and so on. And if you look over to the right here, what you're seeing is the new model that we're trying to move into. SQL, ILE, modular architecture, SOA, and so on. So that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on here today. And there's several different ways to modernize. You can do a short-term modernization project, a long-term modernization project. It's really going to be up to you as to how you do things and how you perform modernization. There's really no right and wrong way to do it as long as you're moving down the path. Things like adopting ILE, adopting SQL, converting your code, moving to a relational database. You see all those here. Now, there are tools to help you move from what you see on the left to what you see on the right. And that's what we're here to discuss today. And what your job really is to find the right tool that's going to help you and get the job done for you accurately and efficiently. Now, today's webinar is sponsored by Profound Logic. Arcad and Profound Logic announced our partnership earlier this year, and what that means to IBM I customers is that they can now address the 3 key areas of modernization with our solutions, and you can ensure that your IBM I environment is modernized all the way from the database to the interface. Now, if you look at this diagram, it's showing you the different layers of modernization. At the bottom, that's the database. At the top, the user interface. And in the middle is the business logic layer. Modernization hits every one of these areas. So what we're going to do now is see how Arcad can assist in these areas. And what we're going to do is we're going to start at the bottom with the database. Modernizing your database is the first thing that you should really look at. The database is really the cornerstone of your information system. You can't build a modern application over an outdated database. So starting here is really the key. Database is the central pillar of the information system. It has major impact everywhere. It impacts security. It impacts performance, scalability. And its readiness really impacts how open you are to other technologies. So this has to be very stable. It should be very standard. It's the foundation that you're going to build off of. So how do you take what you have now and transform it into something that's new and something that's modern? You use Transformer DB, Arcad Transformer DB. What Arcad Transformer DB is a tool set that contains everything you need to migrate your existing IBM I database into a full relational database. And there's an awful lot to think about when you do this. For instance, checking data integrity. I mean, to convert a physical file into a DB table, the first thing you have to do is check the contents of your data. If you have bad records out there, For example, numeric fields having alphanumeric values, that really does happen, then that's going to be an issue. If you try to migrate, it's going to stop you. So it's also a good reason to make this change when you stop and think about it. Once your files are created into DB tables, it's then the DB2 for iDatabase engine that's going to ensure the integrity of that data. So things like that alpha character in the numeric field can't happen anymore. Arcad Transformer DB provides you with a simple tool that can check the entire contents of your files and generate a report, can point you directly at the corrupted records, right at the corrupted field, so you can fix it. Converting from DDS to DDL is also an issue. And with Arcad, this conversion is easy. All you do is check out the physical file, and you allocate it to a particular project, and then we give you an option that will generate the related DDL source for you. The related object also gets created. Transformation's really that simple and that fast. Now, modernizing the database is a pretty good start, but modernization, as we've seen, goes a lot further than that. The next thing you should start looking at is the code itself. I mean, if you're trying to attract new developers to your organization, what's their reaction when you show them fixed format RPG? I bet they don't like it, and I bet they don't want to work with it. I mean, what they see, secret codes. They see short field names, something in a specific column, or nothing works. It's really not a language that they want to work with, not a modern developer. Using ILE, SQL, getting to free format RPG, these are all keys to your organization's success. Look at this. Look at the before and after images of the code here. New languages, they mean readability. They're easier for new developers to understand. Now, Transformer was announced as a TR7. That's a while back. And you can use it with code that was done before that if you need to. Depends on where you are. But you're supported. We can get you here. This is also called IBM Rational Arcad Converter. This is a rational tool. It's designed to accelerate the conversion of your application into free format. It achieves nearly 100% conversion rates of any RPG4 code. It does the calc specs, the declaration specifications, HF, D, and P. It's even able to convert things like go-to statements, move arrays, and so on. No equivalent in free, but it does it. Now, Arcad Transformer RPG, you can do this a single source member at a time, or you could do a mass conversion. You could go after an individual module. You can convert that in a statement-by-statement fashion. You can do that under the control of a user, or you can do a bulk operation, and you can process as many source members as you would like at once. And what you end up with is modern source code. I mean, free format programs have the same source type, and they're compiled in exactly the same way as fixed format RPG. The compiler doesn't know the difference. It allows for the two styles to be mixed freely. You can phase into this. And the advantages here are huge and numerous. Nested logic, indentations. It's easier to understand. You can read this stuff at a glance. You can enter code easier, faster, fewer keystrokes. You have more space available. You can use long expressions. You can comment on the right immediately after the code so it's readable. Again, it can coexist with fixed format. And if you look around out there in the open world, a lot of the code samples and things that you're seeing now, they're only available in free format. I mean, IBM is focusing heavily there. Everything new is in free format. It's easier to learn. It's easier to read. And it's going to improve the experience for your native developers. It really is. SOA, service-oriented architecture. It's a concept that's really kind of focused on the loose coupling of integrated elements. I mean, the goal here is to eliminate and minimize the dependencies among systems while still maintaining the functionality there. A service-oriented architecture, it's an approach to developing applications using independent, reusable modules that we call services. And when you construct a service to make it available on the internet, and when you construct it to a specific set of standards, then you have a web service. If if a business process changes, applications done in SOA can adapt very fast by changing just the services that are affected. So moving toward SOA will allow you to eliminate redundant development. It's going to make you more flexible and adaptable. And I think the word we're looking for here is agile, right? So getting there is a big change, but it's really important if you plan to stay competitive in the years to come. Okay, we've covered the database layers. We've talked about the code layer. We could talk about these things for days. But let's go ahead and take a look at the next layer here, the most visible one to your end users. It's the applications interface. You heard Charles. Users are getting more advanced. Traditional green screen interfaces, they weren't developed with today's businesses in mind at all. But the good news here is that it's easy to add a modern layer to your 5250 applications or even remove the ties to the green screens altogether. And there's several options for companies looking to modernize their application interfaces. Now, you may want to start with on-the-fly green screen refacing, or by adding some rich UI components to your reface screens. Or you may be ready to completely modernize your application using RPG open access and DDS conversion. You may even want to create applications that run in mobile, phone, tablet devices, and so on. Profound Logic offers a solution that enables you to do all the above and a whole lot more. Profound UI is a suite of tools that enable you to create, enhance, and extend your IBM I applications. The tools in the suite are fully integrated, and they conform to your unique modernization needs, very flexible. With this suite, you can create new web and mobile applications, web-enable existing green screens, add modern menus to your IBM I applications, deploy mobile applications. You can generate clean, free format code, and you can support web services. And the best part is just like Arcad Solutions, Profound Logic's products are 100% native to the IBM I platform. You don't need to use a Windows server or develop in a non-IBM language like .NET. You can use your existing development talent and IBM I investment without migrating away from the platform at all, and you can still deliver beautiful, truly modern and mobile interfaces. Now, here's a view of the Profound UI Visual Designer. Of course, we don't have time for a demo with this in this webinar, but in future webinars, you're going to be able to see how easy it is to use this drag and drop framework to design modern interfaces. And you'll see some of the over 125 rich cross-browser widgets that come with the product as well. So those are the solutions Arcad and Profound Logic offer to help you reach your modernization goals. And here on this slide, you see some of the many benefits that you get from modernizing an application. There's literally thousands of reasons to do it. You're going to have to decide which one of these reasons is your driving factor. The key here is that it's kind of urgent that you get going. This needs to get done. You need to compete. There's many benefits to working with Arcad and Profound Logic. And here's what that partnership kind of means to you. With Profound and Arcad, you're working with two vendors with one goal in mind, modernizing your IBM I. Together, we offer a complete solution that addresses your database, code, and interface modernization needs, and we do it more comprehensively than any vendor in the market. We're 100% native to the IBM I platform, and what that means is we'll never require you to leave the IBM I platform, install non-native technologies, or use code like .NET in order to modernize. Profound and Arcad are also very active in developing our products, and we invest in ongoing R&D and the product features. So with that, I'd like to pass this back to Amanda, and she'll lead us into the next portion of our presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ray. That was great. I'm going to hand controls here to Jordan, and Jordan is going to walk us through an actual customer experience of using both Arcad and Profound Logic tools.
All right. Thank you so much, Ray. and Amanda. Hello to everyone that is on the webinar today. I'm going to spend some time here talking with Don Johnson of Kenco Group, who is a joint Arcad and Profound Logic customer, and find out a little bit more about his experience working with both of our companies. So to start off, Don, if you could just briefly introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your role at Kenco, and then also a little bit about Kenco from the company standpoint. Don, I don't know if you're on mute right now, but we can't hear you at this point.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, my name's Don Johnson. Work for Kenco Group. We're a third-party logistics provider. Basically, that means we do warehousing services for our customers. I'm responsible for the company's in-house developed applications, which are primarily RPG-based applications that are developed on the IBM.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Don.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving forward, can you tell us a little bit more about how Kenco uses the IBM platform, how the IBM platform is part of the business, and a little bit about your development environment?
Sure. Yeah, probably like most of your customers, we have numerous applications, many of which are not on the IBM, but we use the IBM for the applications that actually run the business. So, our accounting package and so forth, those are package systems that are on other platforms. But, our business is very, centric to managing the warehouse. So, our like Ray mentioned earlier, your business logic, your core competencies, that's what we're using IBM to manage. So we have our primary warehouse management system that's developed in-house. We also have several other ancillary systems that are smaller that we've developed in-house, and we also have a data warehouse that we are running on the IBM. That's used for not only working with the data from our in-house developed systems, but it's we're warehousing data from many different systems on different platforms, and then also able to provide dashboards and other reporting from that data warehouse. We have about 14 developers that are full-time developers, and then sometimes additional consultants, contractors. A couple of physical servers, and about a total of 6 partitions between production, development, and disaster recovery. And that pretty much sums up our environment.
Okay, thank you, Don. I appreciate that. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the development challenges that your team faced before you got into modernization, and then after that, if you could tell us a little bit about the challenges that your company faced because of the outdated interfaces, i.e. the green.
Yeah, we we had a lot of problems with things that took manual effort. We had a change management system in place that was error prone, required a lot of human interaction, and so our initial challenge was really to solve those issues and get to a point where we could deploy the changes for a project and not have to be concerned with what kind of fallout would happen afterwards. And from the standpoint of the user interface, we had green screen interfaces, and we got a lot of feedback from the business, from the users that that it was outdated, that they didn't like it, and especially as new people were hired into the company. So we evaluated a number of options Some of those options were, IBM options. Some of those were .NET, Java, options like that. And after quite a long period of time and looking at all those options, we come to the decision that Profound UI was the best decision for us. Number of reasons for that.
Okay, thank you. What led you to choose Arcad as a modernization partner? If you could tell us a little bit about that, and also tell us a little bit about some of the Arcad tools that you and your team leverage at Kenco.
Sure. As I mentioned earlier, our primary issues were mainly around change management and deployments, and so we started looking at what other options were available. And after considering the different options, it seemed that Arcad solved some of the problems that we had. We felt really good about what Arcad had to offer, where some of the other competitors didn't really seem to have solid solutions, or at least they weren't convincing. So that was initially what drove us toward Arcad. The result was very successful implementation of their change management solution. In addition to the change management solution, we started looking at some of the other products that they had to offer. One of which originally was the transformer product. It enabled us to do some pretty large projects with field expansions and field renaming, those kind of things that would take a tremendous amount of time and decrease that effort probably, I would say, around 75% reduction in time. After that, we have expanded into using the Transformer RPG product. Many of the listeners may have used the original IBM RDI conversion utility for fixed format to free format. They've discontinued enhancements in that product, so the Arcad product does everything that product did and much more, including the latest enhancements for free format, and that came available in TR7, as Ray mentioned earlier. Another product that we've recently started using is Transformer DB. The database DDS to DDL conversion is a huge project for us, and we really needed something to automate some of those repetitive processes. So another product we're looking at that we are just now getting started with is the Arcad Verifier regression testing tool. For us, the demand is ever increasing, so we're constantly releasing new modifications with concurrent development, and the regression testing effort has just become unmanageable, from a human aspect. So we had to find something to, again, automate some of those things. And you'll notice a consistent word there is automation, and that seems to be the sweet spot for Arcad.
Thanks again, Don. Moving on to some questions about Profound Logic. Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose Profound Logic as your partner for the user interface modernization, and then also tell us a little bit about what solutions you used from Profound Logic software?
Yeah, we looked at, as I mentioned earlier, we looked at several options, and one of the things that really attracted us to Profound is the fact that you don't have to have any type of PC server, middleware, or anything like that. Everything runs natively on the IBM i. Some of the other things that were attractive was the way the screen designer works. Much more intuitive than some of the other designers, screen designers, form designers that I worked with in the past. So we had concerns around developer learning curve. How long would it take to get our developers up to speed with this new screen designer? So what our experience was that the designer is extremely intuitive to the RPG developer in a very short amount of time to get someone to a productive state. We also, in addition to the to buying the standard UI suite, we worked with Profound for the mass conversion service. We didn't want to take a long time or work through the manual iterations to do a conversion, and Profound did a really great job of converting, doing the initial conversion from a green screen to the rich display. Went through that process with no problems at all. In a later phase, we implemented the Atrium product. And the Atrium product gave us a much more modern application navigation. We always referred to it as a menu in the past, but getting a more modern look at menu or navigation. And the Genie product was another product that we purchased to handle all the IBM operating system rendered screens, things that we didn't have source code for.
Okay, excellent. And one thing I just wanted to point out quickly is, as Charles Guarino talked about earlier in the webinar, is this phased approach to modernization, breaking up the different parts. And it sounds like your experience, Don, at Kenco is exactly that you've broken up the modernization approach into several different phases, and that's allowed you to really start to conquer modernization in a strategic way rather than just taking everything on at once. And it's nice to hear of a real customer taking this proper approach to modernization, and hopefully that's a good thing for other people who are on the webinar to hear and see that it can be done to break these large modernization projects, which can be a little bit intimidating, into simple phases. So let's move forward here and actually look at some screenshots, some before and after, just to give our viewers on today's webinar a little idea of what can be done with Profound UI from a green screen modernization approach. So here we have one of your green screens, and this is probably pretty standard for a lot of our viewers here. I'm sure everyone is very familiar with a screen like this, so we don't need to spend too much time on this screen, but let's jump ahead to here to our next screen and take a look at out of the box kind of what modernization you were able to do with Profound UI. Maybe you can talk a little bit about this, and then I think we have one more screenshot after this to show to our viewers.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we tried to do this in an iterative process. So Charles's explanation of eat the elephant. So this was the initial conversion. We went from the green screen for our menu to this more modern looking menu. It's really the same exact functionality behind the scenes, same RPG program, just a different look and feel.
Okay, excellent. And then, and that's one important thing about Profound UI is that you have this option of doing a simple, straightforward, out-of-the-box modernization with the green screen, and you can see what that looks like here. But then we have another screenshot that shows a much more advanced approach to modernization, which is actually very simple for our customers to do, but it provides you with a whole different level of abilities here. So this screenshot shows a screen of yours that has been completely eliminated from the back-end green screen, but gets the same RPG logic driving that screen. Maybe you can just talk about some of the benefits that you achieved through this approach, and tell us a little bit about what we see here in this screenshot.
Sure. Yeah, you'll notice on the left-hand side that's actually the replacement for the menu. So, Profound refers to this as navigation and application security. So, for any given user, they may only see a few of these menu options. And the Atrium navigation is what's called an accordion-style navigation. So you've got the plus and minus icons where if you click the plus symbol for one of the other areas, it's going to collapse the section you're in and open another section. So as you select something from the menu, this is a tabbed interface, much like the browser itself. So the screen currently shows where we have an outbound order maintenance program that's open. You can launch several other applications or menu options at the same time. And you'll notice some of the things that you just can't do in the green screen is this calendar widget. So, instead of always having to key a date in a date field, you actually have the ability to add these calendar widgets and select a date. A lot of other options that are available, like sortable column headings. So once your grid is loaded or your subfile, you can click on the column heading and sort. You'll notice also an export option, export to Excel. So those are a lot of things that people come to expect in a modern application that we were unable to do in the past without Profound.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Don. We've talked about a bunch of different things here. Maybe you could just sum up for us the key and most prominent benefits that you've received from modernizing with the Profound Logic and Arcad software solutions.
Yeah, from the business and the users, we really got a tremendous amount of feedback, positive feedback, because of the update of the user interface. That was the most obvious thing to the users. From the development team, from the support group, and really the company as a whole, a lot of the things that we accomplished using the Arcad products, where we removed manual human efforts, automated things that maybe only one or two of the people in the development team knew how to do something. So we reduced the number of human errors. We talk about agile and the ability to deploy often and deploy without issue. So those are both things that are really big benefits that we've accomplished. We also have recently added a non-RPG developer, someone that came from a Java background, to the RPG team. And with some of these new tools that we've implemented, that developer has quickly come up to speed. So, number of areas, I guess I could sum it up by saying that lots of automation and a huge decrease in problems.
All right, fantastic, Don. I really appreciate, well, we all really appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and we're going to hand it back over to Amanda now. It's all yours, Amanda.
All right, great. Thank you guys so much. Thanks again, Don, for joining us, and also to Ray for taking the time to go through the different solutions that we offer, what the partnership means to everyone on the call, and really just how our goal is to help you reach your modernization goals. So we do have some questions. We definitely want to try to get to some of those in time before the end of this webinar. We may run a little bit long, so if some of you don't mind waiting around for those questions, but like I said earlier in the webinar, any questions we don't get to on this call, we'll include those in a Q&A transcript that I email out to you. So real quick, here are some next steps that I'd like to share with you. We worked together with Arcad on a white paper that details some of what we talked about here on this call, and also going into a little bit more detail about the solutions themselves, and just what the benefits are of addressing your modernization goals from the database to the interface. So you can visit that at the link here. I'm going to be including these links in the email that I send you guys. Also, if you are interested in trying Profound UI or Transformer RPG, you can download free trials of those online, and the links are here for you as well for that. We are going to be presenting some of these solutions and this messaging at the New England User Group Conference. So for any of you who are planning on attending that conference, you can take a look at the session guide and see when we're planning on presenting there, and we'd love to have you attend. We're also going to be hosting a special event at Common in Anaheim coming up in April. So more details on that to come, but we're going to be hosting a half-day seminar where you can dive a little deeper into some of the solutions we talked about today. And then if you're interested in following us online, contacting us, of course you can email us, using, the contact info that you can find on our website. But you can also follow us online if you're into social media. We're at profoundlogic.com, or I'm sorry, at profoundlogic and at arcad_software on Twitter. So with that, I think I'd like to go ahead and move into the question section. And if you guys like, to our speakers on the call, I can go through and maybe see what questions are here that might be good. So we have a question here, Ray, about Arcad Transformer. And the question is the transformation used in such a way that existing unconverted programs can work without changes?
Yeah, that was a great question. I saw that come in, and I thought to myself, geez, that really should have been included within the webinar because it's a pretty forward-thinking thing. If you change a file like that, do you have to recompile everything that's associated with it? And the answer really is no, you don't have to. What we do is we use the IBM standard rather. If you want to do it this way, what we do is we create an unkeyed physical and we attach a suffix to it. Then we're going to create a logical. It's going to have the exact same key as the old physical had. We're going to generate all the DDS that we need to. We're going to recreate the tables, handle the data, do all that for you. When you do it this way, the file format identifiers, they do not change. So any existing program will still read that file okay and still process that file okay. There should be no need to do a massive recompile if you do it that way. That is an option within Transform DVD.
Okay, great. Jordan, I have one for you. So if you just in a few minutes or a few seconds could explain what's the difference between when we talk about refacing and when we talk about doing a modernization with the RPG Open Access Handler. If you could just explain how that works a little bit.
Sure. To keep this brief, I'll explain it as follows. There's two approaches to modernization with Profound UI. One is through an approach that many of you know as screen scraping, which you would use our Genie solution for. Screen scraping is what you see that's very common in the market. If you look at pretty much all the vendors in the market, they all offer a screen scraping solution, and we offer one as well because it is useful in certain scenarios. However, the true real approach to modernization is to completely eliminate the green screen, not to just put a screen on top of it. And to do that, we have this approach called DDS conversion to rich display file. And this approach works with RPG Open Access and completely eliminates the green screen through an automated conversion process. And if you want to find out more detail about how this works, contact us. We'll spend some time talking through how it works. But just to reinforce, the key is that if you're going to modernize your IBM I from the user interface perspective, you need to eliminate the green screen fully. Putting something on top of the green screen is only going to get you so far.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jordan. It looks like we have time for one last question. Ray, it looks like this one is for you. Does Arcad Transformer create a data dictionary and database model similar to Data Studio?
Okay. Yeah, I saw that. I'm not familiar with the other product, quite frankly. I can tell you what we do. What Observer does is it actually creates, not Observer, rather, Transformer, any of our products. What we do is we create a repository, and we load that repository. We work off of it. And what that repository is it's basically metadata that reflects your production environment. And that's going to include things like cross-platform, cross-reference information, field-level information, database relationships are included in there. We can create database relationship diagrams from it, so we can see links between tables and things like that. So I think my answer here is really yes, but not knowing the other product, I would say contact us and we can discuss it further.
Okay. Wonderful. So what I'm actually going to do, because we're out of time, but I'm going to leave the webinar going for a little bit. If anybody has additional questions about Profound, Logic software, or about Arcad solutions, or just about modernization in general, you can still use the Q&A interface here to ask your question, and we will do our best to answer those and get those out to you after the webinar is completed. So again, I just wanted to thank all of our speakers today for taking the time to talk on this, subject. We had a lot to cover. Just to let you know too, this is the first of a series of webinars that we're going to be doing, so stay tuned, and we'll have more to say on this topic over time. So thank you everyone for attending, and we will talk to you again soon.